Are you pushed for time? Maybe cramming for an exam? Do you catch yourself reaching for a can of soup or even skipping meals? What if I told you there was a better option? I'm here today to tell you why you should make your own soup. Homemade soup is cheaper per serving. It gives you leftovers to eat later in the week or freeze, and is more nutritious than canned soup. Let's start with homemade soup being cheaper. The cost of a can of Progresso chicken noodle soup is between $1.98 and $2.49 per can, according to Walmart.com and Foodline.com, respectively. This seems to be an inexpensive meal, costing between 99 cents and $1.40 per serving. But what if I told you homemade soup was cheaper? The cost of the ingredients to buy for homemade soup is around $9. And you get about 10 servings at least. So that's about 80 to 90 cents per serving. So it is cheaper. And homemade soup is great if you're trying to budget. We've heard the term broke college student, and according to Urban Institute's website, the average salary for a college student is between $3,900 for those living at home and $13,880 for those that live on their own. That means you probably need to find a way to stretch your budget a little bit farther. So a big pot of soup is great for that. Now that you know a little bit about why soup is cheaper to make at home, let's talk about having leftovers. Making soup homemade will give you more servings. And what's better than a fresh bowl of soup? Leftovers. Being that you have more soup when you make it on your own, you'll have some for future meals. Just freeze it and pop it in the microwave while you're studying for your exam. The FDA Food Code says that prepared foods should be used within 7 days or frozen for later use. And the USDA says it's good in the freezer for up to 4 months, which means you can make a big batch of soup at the beginning of the semester and freeze it for later. And leftovers aren't just for broke college students. They're also great for working adults, too. I have 2 kids who are busy in sports, so I often am reaching for something quick and nutritious, and the soup I have stored in my freezer comes to the rescue. And not only does it give us a healthier meal, it saves us money from having to go to takeout. Now that we know homemade soup is great for leftovers, let's learn why making your own is more nutritious. The final reason to make your own soup is that it's more nutritious than canned. Homemade soup has less sodium per serving than canned. I was shocked to find out that Progresso soup has 680 milligrams of sodium per serving. That's more than 30% of the recommended daily intake of 2,300 milligrams. And according to the CDC, too much sodium intake is one of the leading causes of high blood pressure. So, make your own soup. And even the low sodium Progresso chicken noodle soup still has 410 milligrams of sodium. Still not very low. MyFitnessPal tells us that making your own soup will only give you 200 to 210 milligrams of sodium. That's a huge difference. And also, when you make your own soup, you control what goes into it. If you follow a special diet, maybe organic or gluten-free, or you have food allergies, when you make it at home, you know what you put in it and don't have to worry about cross-contamination. You can also add your own vegetables, or as many vegetables as you want, to make it more full of fiber and nutritious. The National Institute of Health tells us that the high heat required for canned soup processing causes more nutrient loss than homemade soup. Are you thinking that maybe homemade soup is above your skill level? Well, homemade soup is easier than you think. There are shortcuts that can be taken for novice cooks. Using chicken noodle soup as a reference, I Googled an easy chicken noodle soup, and I come up with Southern Living recipe for rotisserie chicken noodle soup. This uses store-bought rotisserie chicken, and it calls for you chopping your own vegetables, but you can also buy your celery and carrots and onions pre-cooked. or pre-chopped or pre-frozen. And you're not Gordon Ramsay, so if you want to chop your own, it doesn't matter if all the pieces are the same size. This recipe is so easy, even my husband can do it. We've been together for 25 years and he's cooked exactly one meal for me. As an experiment, I had him prepare the recipe, and it says it should take 20 minutes. He chopped all the vegetables himself and done all the prep, and he completed it in about 30 minutes. So if he can do it, you can do it. Oh, and it tasted almost as good as mine. In conclusion, I hope I have convinced you to make homemade soup instead of buying it from a can. We have seen that making soup from scratch is less expensive, yields leftovers, and is more nutritious. As someone who has been cooking for almost 40 years, it seems like a no-brainer for me to make soup from scratch. But I hope the next time you are in the grocery store and thinking about picking up a can of soup for dinner, I hope you remember this speech and instead decide to make your own.